lawmakers to think more passionately and defensively about their right to have and access guns than they do about the right
really weird.
of the
Look, it's all open.
to be protected
When the
from gun violence
gun owner rally was
and
going
to
on, they
live
had this all
peacefully.
fenced off. There's a much larger police presence too. I mean, I do see some police over there again.
The idolatrous worship of guns has eroded the ability and the willingness of decision makers to enact common sense, community protecting laws that can restrict access to guns for people who common sense tells us should not have them. The idolatrous worship of guns clouds the abilities of the lawmakers to envision communities as places where people work out their problems and conflicts verbally instead of shooting them out with guns. How many more lives will be sacrificed on the altar of irresponsibly easy access to guns, including assault rifles? How many more students,
That's not true.
shoppers, worshipers, and employees will be sacrificed on the altar of absentee leadership?
Yeah, I got kind of a weird setup here right now. Let me make sure I'm going here. So yeah, so what are you here for, and like what is it you want to see done as far as laws passed, or I see you want to tighten Ohio gun laws. Which laws would you tighten?
Well, right now there's a whole bunch of important laws in front of the legislature to expand background checks, to what else? To the red flag law, etc. So there's a whole bunch of important laws. I'm just done with mass shootings. I was born and raised in Dayton, and it was like getting punched in the gut the other day. I personally think that assault rifles should no longer be made or sold, and the ammunition to them should no longer be sold because they're not a weapon used in hunting, nor worthy of private individual protection.
Well, are you talking about like an automatic, like an assault rifle, fully automatic?
Sure. Well, they're not fully. They're semi-automatic, but
okay. I mean, semi-automatic is one pull the trigger, one shot, which is what most guns are, whether it be a pistol or a rifle or.
Well.
Yeah, the only other option would be a three round burst, which again is with an assault rifle. You can't get that on a regular, what you would call an assault weapon, is what most people are usually referring to. But
I'm referring to a military-style weapon. I guess one of the differences with them is that when the bullet hits a person, it starts to tumble, and it goes in like a little hole, and it comes out as big as your fist, and it jumbles everything in between.
Well, I mean, depending on your shotgun ammo or your pistol, your revolver ammo.
I'm not here to argue particulars like this. I'm not here to argue those kind of particulars. There's no good point to military-style weapons in civilian hands.
So,
we've already limited machine guns, fully automatic weapons. We've already qualified the Second Amendment that much. We can go one step further and go back and ban this other type of semi-automatic weapon.
So, when you say assault weapon, like what all guns are you talking about?
AR-15s, AK-47s. I'd like to see big magazines banned also.
Okay.
No point in those. No point in those except mass murder.
I mean, do you know that?
And then among other people that think that somehow our government's going to attack them someday.
This can't keep happening. Gun violence, police violence, it's all in the same. The police running around here with assault weapons now. We trying to ban them. Does that mean they got to get theirs up too? That's what I want to know.
No, they will not. That's what doesn't make any sense here. Well, what do you think about Trump?
I'm not a fan.
You're not worried about him at all, as far
as I'm not gonna defeat him with an AR. I will defeat him at the ballot box in 2020.
Well, I mean, do you agree with what the media says, that he's basically a dictator in waiting and a white supremacist?
No. I don't think the media says that. That's way too broad. That's way too broad. I think the standard media gives Mr. Trump a fair chance.
Which media would this be?
This would be CBS. This would be the New York Times, the Washington Post. You know, our Columbus Dispatch is a moderate Republican paper, and they had the balls to endorse Hillary Clinton.
Well, I mean, did you know that most mass shootings even, are done with revolvers, with pistols, not with assault weapons, not with rifles? And
it's like all the ones with the really high body counts are done by.
Well, the ones that you hear about, the ones that the media chooses to really put out there, the ones they don't choose, like in Chicago over last weekend, there was like 57 people shot just in one weekend. Right, and those are mass shootings. But you don't ever, they are.
No, I think more than 4 people.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Some of these shootings in Chicago, up to 10 people shot. But if you look into it, they actually don't count those in the statistics when they talk about mass shootings in this country. They don't. That's not even part of it. They're not even counting that.
Okay, so is it your contention that an assault weapons ban is nonsensical?
I think that all you're going to end up doing is making American citizens less safe, and you're going to criminalize American people who are just normal, everyday people, maybe who just want to defend their home, for self-defense.
You need an automatic weapon to defend your home.
Well, we're not talking about automatic weapons, though. Automatic weapons aren't even a part of the discussion.
You can do all your word games.
No. It's not a word game, ma'am.
It's a word game.
It's not. There's a huge difference between one trigger, one pull, and holding down the trigger and getting a spray.
Right.
That's automatic.
Right.
Nobody can get an automatic weapon.
I'm sure that we can work out the differences to come up with a law that bans the guns that are responsible.
I mean, but if you're out here, shouldn't you know that? Don't you think? If you're spreading information?
No.
Okay.
And I've said enough to you.
Okay, well,
I've said enough to you,
All right.
sir.
I appreciate your time, though. You seem kind of angry.
Because you're trying to go into all these little details.
These are facts.
Oh, you know what?
They're inconvenient to what you're doing.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Okay.
They're nitpicking. It's time to get assault weapons off the streets.
Right, but when you say that you mean
I'm
you
done,
could be talking
sir.
about pistols.
I'm done, sir.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
I'm gonna need everybody
Thank
in the
you.
audience to stand up. We're gonna wake them up about these gun violence rules that only apply to them. Because in order for them to stop the gun violence rules all across this
So yeah, they're
country,
spreading a lot of misinformation in this thing. The speakers up there keep talking about assault rifles. There's no assault rifles.
in order for it to be stopped outside.
Yeah. You call it nitpicking. You call it nitpicking. It's disinformation.
You come in and kill our sons and our daughters, and you don't think something's not supposed to be wrong? We have to come out here every other day, every month, every week, tell our same story, and you don't think nothing's wrong?
Hi, David. How you doing?
Good.
So I know David. He's an old customer of mine, and just happened to see you out here. Just wanted to get your feelings on this and just what you think about it. So, what are you here for? Are you here with the church?
I am here with the church, the United Church of Christ, and in support of a way that we can be together as human community that really builds for common sense safety. And I have this firm belief that there's too much either or thinking in this conversation, and that we need to, as the speakers today are saying, develop a common sense approach to our whole way of thinking about the role of guns in our society.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an all or nothing.
I think that's a great goal. I mean, I'd like to be able to talk with people. There's a lot of hostility when I talk to some of these people, and I would like to see that go away, because we're not going to move anywhere otherwise. We're just going to be at each other's throats.
Right.
I mean, as far as this goes, I've heard a lot of just some of the speakers saying things that I know are objectively not true, just based on statistics and things like that. I mean, do you think that, if we want to bring people together, do you think that that's the best way to, for example, I'll give you an example. This idea that the black community here in Columbus is under assault from the police. I mean, if you look at the statistics, that's not at all the case. I mean, not at all. And I just wonder, is this really helpful?
So I would want to say we have to find a language that can get to the root core of the realities that people experience.
Right.
I do think that it's easy to ignore the pain of others, and we need to find ways to tend that pain, not just symbolically, but in ways that can actually make for change. To get at the root cause, the intersection of poverty and violence. And these things are complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another thing, is that I think all these are all issues that have to be addressed, right? But they're way more complicated than how it's being presented. Like, it's very black and white here, where it's actually a lot more complicated than that. Like, every time a cop shoots anytime a cop has to shoot anybody, it's bad. But is it always, is it ever justified? I would think sometimes, maybe even the majority of the time, it is justified. But it's treated as though if it happens, it's wrong, And I think that sort of black and white isn't helping. Because that's gonna, it might play to the base, but if you're trying to get people in the middle or even on the right, there's no way,
I'm not. Maybe we should stop here.
Oh, okay. Not really, because a lot of people on that side of the debate use that language, and it's just not right. And if you're going to go taking people's rights from them, you should at least know what you're talking about. Don't you think? No?
I think that the vast majority of people know what I'm talking about, and they
Right, they think machine gun. They think spray and machine guns. That's not even, people can't get those. So, you know who can get those, actually? If you look in LA and the gang warfare there, they get automatic weapons because they don't care about the laws. What do you think about the amount of people that are actually saved every year by guns? Up to 3 million.
I think that's a ridiculous number.
Well, it's true. The Obama administration actually commissioned the study that came up with that number.
Yeah,
so you can Google it. I suggest you do. So anyway, I do appreciate your time, ma'am. I do. I really do. Are you from here from Columbus?
No, from Cleveland.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Well, I appreciate your time. I do. So, I know I've talked to a lot of the people here with science, so I know you guys are here for the increased background checks and stuff. And, I don't necessarily disagree with all that, but something I would want to ask, just to kind of gauge where people are at. You might have saw, I think it was San Diego or San Francisco, where they just declared the NRA a terrorist organization.
Yes,
Would you agree with that?
Yes,
Yeah?
definitely.
So you would agree with basically making half of the American population, well, not half, but a pretty sizable amount, basically terrorists? Members of the NRA, would they be terrorists?
What company do you represent?
I have a YouTube channel, DronetekPolitics.
I'm sorry.
I have a YouTube channel, DronetekPolitics.
What's it called again?
DronetekPolitics.
Drone
I'm an Air Force veteran, and I have a media.
That is so interesting. Half the population. Where do you get your figures?
Well, I kind of checked myself there and said not quite half, obviously, because not half the country is a member of the NRA. But, they have millions and millions of members that are American citizens, law-abiding American citizens.
You know what? They agree with this. If you look at your facts, the NRA, members of the NRA. So we have people leading the NRA. They're making money somehow illegally that needs to be investigated. It's got Trump's ear, but this members of the NRA, and my husband and I are gun owners. If you want to know that. So
you don't get all.
I don't.
I'm not being hostile. It's okay.
Let us pray.
All right.
Well, they did declare them a terrorist group, right? And people who are members of the NRA will then basically be terrorists, right?
Maybe they want to consider their membership if they're not doing what they've asked them to do.
Okay.
Because the population supports background checks, making us safer.
Mm-hmm. And so, do you agree with what Beto said he would want to do, straight up confiscations?
I'm sorry, who's
Beto, Robert Francis, Democrat candidate.
I don't know what he's saying.
You don't know? Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
okay, yeah. During the last debate, the Democrat debate, he was asked if he would confiscate guns. He said, "Hell yes, I'll confiscate your guns."
No.
Okay.
No. Why would we do that?
Okay, that's good. I just
We're
wondering.
just asking that people be licensed, just like it is to drive.
Right.
I can't even fly in the country now without having my driver's license updated. But anybody can go out and buy a gun from anybody. And in this state, we need to have universal background checks.
And our work and empower us to change first
I'll go ahead and get that on there.
License.
And
I also agree with banning assault weapons. You don't need an assault weapon to go deer hunting or whatever, which my family does. They do all kinds of
Well, I mean, you know, a hunting rifle is an assault weapon.
It's not a military assault weapon where you can kill
What's the difference?
30 people in less than a minute.
What's the difference between a hunting rifle and an AR-15?
Because it takes time to recock things.
No, you can put magazines in.
I really want to check. I hope you.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be combative. I'm just saying that is the fact of it, which it is. I heard a lot
I
of
think
people.
you should have come last week to the other
I did.
rally. 'Cause
I did.
Good for you.
I was here.
I don't think that anybody that is against all this stuff should be.
Well, you know, most mass shootings are done with revolvers, semi-automatic revolvers.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Look at Dayton.
Yeah.
Explain to
Well,
a
that's
revolver.
one. Yeah, that's one shooting. But the vast majority of
So
shootings
you
are done with
don't care
revolvers.
that those people died?
No, I do.
No, evidently not. Evidently not. Just get rid of the military assault weapons. What's such a big deal?
What makes them military? No military uses that gun.
I think I've had my discussion with you.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, ma'am. I do
don't think
appreciate
anybody
it.
should talk to you, and I'm going to be telling people that.
Is that the kind of country we live in? If you guys were running it, don't talk to people who disagree with you or who have facts that you don't agree with.
I'm here because I'm
You're
very
running away.
upset about people dying, and you are in my face and upsetting me.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that I realize what he's about, he has no heart.
You don't know anything about me, actually. Weird. Well, that's pretty much the response I've gotten out here. As soon as you start correcting the things they're saying that are not true.
Excuse me, while everybody assembled, I didn't get to speak with my nephew, and there was one person who come all the way from out of town. We'll be like 30 seconds. Sometimes the most high
Yeah, as soon as you start refuting the things they say, they get really upset, and they think you're up to something, or you're a bad person.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support this channel, please consider subscribing to me on Patreon or Subscribestar. You can also send me a donation on PayPal, and I deeply appreciate it. You can find all the relevant links in the description and in the pinned comment. Thank you.